All right. We're live. Welcome, you guys. Welcome. Let me, as always, check settings really fast. Looks good. Audio and video look good. As always, if you do notice any buffering that comes up, go ahead and refresh the browser. That usually helps. But on my end, everything is looking A-okay. Welcome. We'll jump in here in just two shakes because today we've got a not only a live Q&A, but another fun live that we're going to be doing here shortly after. So just a couple more seconds to allow people to get notified, come on in, get comfortable, all of that. Yes, happy 2025. Yay, happy new year. Mystical, Michelle, Danielle, Teriyaki, love your name. Yara, welcome. You were missed last week. Tess, hello. Got a number of really good questions already. I love it. Love that. This will be good. All right. Happy lazy Sunday indeed. Let's go ahead and get started because why not? Oh, 2 seconds. Okay, we're good. Let's go ahead and jump on in. We got a lot of fun things to go over today. Welcome, you guys. Happy Sunday. I hope you are having a wonderful, wonderful weekend, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever in the world you may be. Another rendition of live Q&As. We do this every Sunday. We hang out, we talk about the law, and as always, I'm here to help clarify and answer your questions so that you have better understanding and more confidence to apply these teachings in your life. Really, no big things on announcements. I am playing catch up on emails after the holidays, so rest assured, everyone will be getting back to. Also, more fun. We're going to be doing, as you may have seen, if you saw my community post this morning, we're going to be doing a house walkthrough, a house tour right after this live Q&A. So I'll be, coming back on and I'll be giving you guys the tour because I've had a number of people request to see the place. This is my dream house. I've manifested this house. I'm going to be making a video on that process as well. And so you guys can walk along and have fun and enjoy. It truly is a blessing to be here. So yeah, stay tuned for that. That'll be coming right after this Q&A. And was there anything else? I think that was it as far as announcements go. So let's go ahead and jump in. Happy Monday from Australia. Can't wait for your dream house tour. I know. I am so excited for you guys to see. I was kind of blown away by how many people requested that. So yeah. All right. Oh, Michelle, lovely to hear that. I am excited. I look forward to working with you. And I know sometimes it takes time for us to really gather ourselves and, take that step. So I am excited. Oh, Danielle. It's a 3-part question. Happy Sunday, Missy. I emailed you, but I think it might be useful for someone else. But things blew up with SP. I got ghosted, blocked, and there might be a third party. Nope. It's sort of a blessing because I was too focused and obsessed with the 3D, so I knew it, but I couldn't fix it in time. But this gives me a clean slate to make sure I focus only on my desired state. Only problem is now it feels difficult to not think about the how/reconciliation instead of going straight to the end. It feels scarier, more daunting, and like more effort is required. Can you talk about taking aim again? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that many people could probably, maybe relate to this, or at least, you know, it is a fantastic question. Unfortunately, the SP journey is something else. I don't want to say that definitively, but it can be absolutely up and down. I do like to see that there's, that optimism on the bright side, looking at, the clean slate approach, and observation that maybe there was too much attention on the 3D. Virtually everybody can relate to that. We have all been there. Um, and I'm so sorry that this experience unfolded. Rest assured, you can turn it around. You can always turn it around. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what the circumstance look like. That said, I know it probably does feel like more daunting and overwhelming, and like there's more to fix. Uh, that's the ego talking, as usual. Um, so when we're talking about taking aim again, I mean, first, the most important thing that we can do is take any time if needed for us, and really focusing on helping to get ourselves to a better place. Because so often, as everybody on an SB journey knows, we put them on a pedestal. They become the center focus. Everything else goes to the wayside, including our own well-being, including how we want to be feeling, and prioritizing ourselves. So, you know, there is a blessing in disguise when it comes to going no contact. I know it's obviously not ideal, but in my case, in my personal case, when I was not constantly being reminded and triggered by the 3D, that's when it became so much easier to shift my focus, and not give all of my attention to him up there on the grand old pedestal. So, number one, first, taking some time to take care of you. And that means if you need to process anything, if you need to, revise things, if you need to just get things out, that's this time to do it. Because ultimately it's not about the other person. And I know we know this, we've heard this 1,000 times, but it needs to be reiterated. This is not about that other person. This is about self. And when it comes to some of the feelings that you're describing, that's going to take a whole lot of effort. That's ego talking. And again, like once you really begin to shift the focus on how you want to feel, and making this about you and your priorities and how you imagine yourself being the very best version of you, when that becomes the main attention point, when you put yourself on that pedestal, the rest really does come effortlessly. It truly does. Yeah. Revising anything that may have taken place, anything like that. It's likely it might take some practice and some getting used to going to the end. At first, our ego is very much focused and fixed on, how do I fix this? It's trying to go into fix it mode rather than going to the end. And that goes for a lot of things. Like that's not even just exclusive to manifesting an SP. So a huge part of this practice is allowing yourself to go to the end, purely for the experience, purely to have that experience and that feeling in imagination. So yeah, take some time for you, revise, process, vent, whatever you need to do. And once that load is considerably lighter, practice just easing yourself into the end. No expectation, just purely for the sake of enjoying the experience. Also, I know it's difficult, but we do not want to assume that there is a third party. X-nay on that. You got this. Happy to catch you live. Welcome. Happy to have you here. Oh my God, Dreamer. Happy Sunday, Missy. Thanks to your lives and videos, I manifested the greatest SP. I've never felt this happy in my life. Happy New Year to you. Thank you again for all you do. Oh, that's what this is about. Congrats, Dreamer. That is amazing. What an incredible start to the new year. I'm so happy for you. Yes, that's what this is all about. And you are so welcome, of course. Of course. Hi, Missy. Happy New Year. As you know, SP and I are back together, but I've started noticing that old state returning, i.e., fears and doubts. What should I do? Also, is our email? No, I will be absolutely making sure to get back to your email. Still getting caught up over the holidays, Christmas and then New Year's back to back. Rest assured. But that said, yeah, this is an important thing. I need to make a video talking more about after we get what we want, right? What happens after we manifest the desire? So much of this is just the journey of getting to that place where the 3D unfolds, where we see it outpictured in our physical world. But what do we do if the fears and doubts start returning? Um, I've certainly been there. And this is where it is so important. It is so important. Whatever we have to do to remind ourselves, whatever, if that means reminders on your phone, if that means leaving post-it notes, like whatever you can do to really disengage that autopilot that wants to go back to a fearful state, because what we need to keep doing is continuing to go to that end. We don't just stop, like the law does not stop or cease to work once we receive our desire. We're always, 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 always manifesting. So if we're noticing fears and doubts coming up, that means that there's still some attachment to those old fears, right? There's still maybe a small part of us that resonates with those fears. Because if we didn't, we would not be affected by them. Uh, you know, this doesn't mean to cause any panic. That doesn't mean that that anything bad is going to happen. But if that is what you're observing, I would be continuing to go and recondition, because, 1,000 times again, the objective here is not just getting the thing in the 3D, that person, that job, that whatever. It's the change in self. The objective, no matter what we desire to manifest, is a change to our beliefs and our assumptions, our self-concept. So if we are still noticing fears and doubts coming up, it means that we may still have some attachment, or are still, there's a part of us that is assuming, or maybe not fully on board with the new state just yet, or the new self just yet. So continue to go back there. Continue to focus on the version of you who feels confident, who feels adored, who feels prioritized, who knows that she's the prize, right? Like, we want to continue to go there until that is second nature to us. Yeah. But again, do not stress. This is normal. But also why I really try to press the importance of, like, this is the long game here. Like, this is us really needing to focus on the self, like who we want to be, and making that the objective. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Leave the 3D alone. Indeed. Could not agree more. Hi, Missy. I'm looking to buy a property, but the one I wanted was sold today. Should I manifest for that specific one, or manifest a general dream property? Good question. I mean, it is entirely up to you. But if you, I guess, pending on what you desire more, if that is the specific property you want, you can absolutely, I would revise. I would revise the news that the property was sold. 100%. That being said, if that may feel like a lot of resistance around it, if maybe that is something that's not really coming naturally, or maybe feels too impossible, and you don't mind the idea of, imagining a whole new dream property, you can go that route too. So it 100% is up to you. But I would not go with what you truly want. Like, don't ever settle. Don't ever settle. But yeah, um, revise. 100% revise. I've lost count of the number of times where it looked like something did not pan through, or it looked like, you know, I failed at my manifestation. And in the 11th hour, things turned around. Things changed. So never accept it as final. Where was I? My natural thoughts are future thoughts. I'm getting this house for when me and SP are together. Is this the state to be in? Um, Natural thoughts or future thoughts. I'm getting this house from when me and SP are together. So, I mean, ideally, we want to be, at least as far as when we are imagining, like when we are, consciously and deliberately manifesting, like going to the end, I should say. We want to imagine as if it is happening right now, as if it's happening right now. Like in the imaginal act, I'm walking through my new house with my person. I've got the keys in my hand, got a bottle of champagne to celebrate because we just closed on the house. Um, that's kind of like, we don't want to be imagining as if it's happening in the future. That said, if the natural thoughts come up saying that my SP and I are going to be here one day, I wouldn't take that as like the wrong state, especially if it connects you to the feeling of this is inevitable for us, right? Like this is going to be like this is what has to be outpictured in the 3D. So yeah, if that is ultimately the feeling, I'd say you're in the right state. Yeah. Morgan, hello. Getting my questions in while it's early. Number one, SATS isn't the void state, right? Two, I'd like to revise my past of struggling to manifest, but I can't think of a scene because it's not a single event. Help. Absolutely. SATS isn't the void state. What's the void state? uh, I've heard that word getting thrown around, but I'm not 100% what that is. Mm. So I don't want to say definitively, but SATS is just, it's the state akin to sleep. While in SATS, initially you may notice you're no longer going to be conscious or aware that you're in your physical environment. Like in SATS, it's going to feel like you're somewhere else entirely. It's going to feel like you're having a different experience somewhere else entirely. But that being said, not 100% on what the void state means, and I don't want to, I don't want to say if I don't know for certain. I don't think those are the same thing. But no, SATS is the groggy state. It's the state between consciousness, fully awake, and asleep. So, and number two, I'd like to revise my past of struggling to manifest, but I can't think of a scene because it's not a single event. Help. Oh. Um, Revising So coming up with an event that implies that you've had success with manifesting in the past, right? An event implying that you haven't struggled, it hasn't been a struggle for you, if I'm understanding correctly. I mean, the first thing that popped to my mind is a conversation with a friend talking about how it's always been effortless to manifest. Like ever since you found out about this, you've just taken to it, and it's you don't even have to think about it, and it's always been like that. That still counts as revision because you're referring to the past and implying that in the past you've always had the ability. Like you've just taken to this manifestation, and these teachings have come naturally to you as far as applying it consciously. So that's just the first thing that popped in my head. But something like that. Yeah. Welcome, Sebastian. Good to have you here. Elise, absolutely yes. Yes. And I will be getting right back to you after this live. No worries. No worries. Kelly, welcome. Happy New Year. Let me see. Is a spot? Teriyaki. Teriyaki Sarah. I love your name. I love your username. That is amazing. Teriyaki Sarah. Hi, Missy. 7 years of manifesting and still only getting minimal results. Is it me? LOL. Mm. I mean, I don't want to say like in a everything is us. I mean, we are ultimately the ones that are manifest, conscious or not. The outpicturing, the 3D, the external is all a reflection of us. So, um, is it me? Well, everything is. Everything is. Now, we don't want to beat ourselves up, give ourselves a hard time. I know it can be really easy to do so. It's really easy to get frustrated with ourselves. Um, so try not to do that. But I've made a video a few weeks back talking about like failure to manifest and what to do if it's been a very long time. And you like if you've been at this for years and you haven't seen any results, or at least not the results that you've intended or wanted to, I would definitely watch that video and check it out. But essentially, what we want to make sure that we're doing, just parallel to our techniques and all of that, what we want to make sure that we're doing is paying attention to our mental diet, to the natural thoughts that are coming up, our reactions, all of the like inner self, like that's what's going to tell if we are in the right state or not, if we are still leaning heavily into that old story. And I'm talking that the natural subconscious reactions. So are we still noticing a lot of triggers? Are we still noticing a lot of intrusive thoughts, fears around that old story? Um, that's what we want to be mindful of, because so much of the time we are on autopilot, like literally 95% of the day, we're typically on autopilot. So we may not be aware of what we are thinking and how we are reacting, or just not conscious of it. So thinking that we might be doing everything right and not really observing that perhaps most of the day we are still in the old state. So and it's okay if that is the case. Again, we don't need to panic. It's nothing to be worried about. But that will tell us, okay, perhaps I want to, shift the direction of how I'm approaching this. I want to shift how I am approaching this as far as how I'm applying this, maybe the techniques that I'm using, how I'm imagining, maybe play around with different concepts exercises, ideas, um, things like that. But yeah, through self-observation, like that's what's going to tell us if we have been successful in changing our self-concept. Yeah. Definitely check out that video if you haven't seen it yet. Should be only a few videos back. Yeah, I apologize for slow mode. I know it's really annoying, but just to try to keep up as quickly as I can. Let me see. Hello, Missy. Happy Sunday. What do you think about hypnotherapy? I heard that it can quickly replace bad beliefs with good ones. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. And hypnotherapy is one of those things that we do have a significant amount of research on. We've done a lot of studies on it, and it has shown, I mean, higher chances of success with changing those old beliefs, right? Reconditioning those old beliefs. Yeah. It's very similar to SATs. Very similar to SATs. So yeah. Missy, part two. What kind of thoughts popped up for you when you manifested? Was it future thoughts of being together, or was it more of a I'm married to you now type of thoughts? Good question. It was both. It was both. You're referring to when I was in the Sabbath, I take it? Yeah, it was both. I naturally had thoughts of sometimes I would catch myself, like when I was at the grocery store, I would be thinking about like, oh, you know, what does he want to eat for dinner tonight? Or like that was just the natural kind of subconscious thoughts, or like, I'm gonna make sure to fold his laundry when I get back, and help him out, surprise him for that interview tomorrow. So thoughts from the state of already being together, right? Uh, again, this was not anything I was doing intentionally. It was just coming up. But I also did have those future thoughts, like travel plans. Like, I can't wait for next summer. I can't wait to go on a road trip with him. Uh, because if you think about it, that's what you would be doing in a relationship, right? If you're dating somebody, if you're with somebody, you're going to be thinking about the future together, and upcoming plans and things of that sort. So I kind of think of it like that. Like, how would you be thinking if you are now in a relationship with this person? It would probably be both. Hi, Missy. If we are already in the Sabbath state about a desire, and then we fall out of the state and decide we don't want it anymore, will it still manifest? Um, unless revised, yes. Unless it's revised, or unless it's reconditioned by a more dominant impression or belief, which is essentially revision. Yes. Every impression, unless revised, becomes an expression. So yeah. Uh, I want to let go of friendships that do not serve me. How do I do that? What can I imagine? Could it make sense to imagine being upset that they didn't reach out anymore? Or rather, something more peaceful? Um, you want to let go of friendships that no longer serve you? I mean, I certainly don't recommend a scene where you are upset, uh, because I'm sure that probably probably not how you want to feel, right? Uh, so I would go with something more peaceful. I would imagine a new friend group. If it were me, I would imagine, first getting clear on like what kind of people do I want in my circle? What kind of people do I want in my friend group? Like what are the personality types, and what does that look like? And go to that end. Go to that end, and then that's where you redirect your focus to. Uh, because that's going to imply whatever happens in the middle as that bridge is unfolding, ultimately it's going to lead you to a state where you have more friends, you know your tribe, so to speak. So yeah. Would you consider creating playlists for each topic? That would be so helpful. Ooh, good idea. Good idea. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I like that. Where was I? Oh, serene goddess. Before, I told myself that when people acted weirdly towards me, it has nothing to do with me, and that gave me relief. But now, with everyone as you pushed out, I feel very stressed and check my thoughts always. What to do? Mm. When people act weirdly towards me, it has nothing to do with me, and it gave me relief. So, I know it can feel overwhelming. The concept of everyone as you pushed out is a huge pill to swallow, for obvious reasons. But we don't have to look at it like, oh, it's, this is all my fault and everything's my fault, and like lay on the pressure to ourselves. I would instead just, if somebody starts acting a certain way towards you, maybe they're acting weird, or giving you a weird vibe, uh, instead remind yourself like this is just this is just a state. Like it's not fact that this person thinks I'm weird. It's not truth with a capital T. That's an expression of an old belief that I've had, an old narrative that I've had. So kind of taking that angle and approach, reminding yourself that this is just an old narrative. Make it as dismissive and insignificant as possible, because it ultimately is just a state. And if that is feedback saying that, I want to begin to imagine that people show up for me in a certain way, I want to imagine that people show up with respect and they you know, treat me well at all times, and that's all there is to it. Yeah, but it's just feedback. I know it can sometimes feel like an overwhelming amount of responsibility, but as you continue to grow in this practice and you gain more confidence in yourself as the operant power, and you gain more faith and trust in this law, it really, the things that were once significant and huge and daunting, not anymore. Hi, Missy. What could be the reason for a person still not feeling faithful, even though they have manifested countless number of things? And how can one work on that faith? Good question, because this is common. This is common. Even if we have seen successful manifestations play out, even if we've seen a lot of them play out, there might still be that little voice in the back of the head that's not buying it, or sowing doubt. That's normal. That's normal. It took me it took me a while before I could confidently come to the place of saying, I trust this without question, 100,000%. It took me a while to get to that place, not gonna lie. And not to say that it's gonna be the case for you, because everyone's different. But ultimately, that's ego talking. Uh, One thing that did help me was coming back to sort of fighting the logical mind with logic. And what I mean by that is, at a certain point, we can't just continue to chalk things up to coincidence. Like, by definition, you know, the odds and statistics of so many things being a coincidence becomes one in billions, if not trillions. Like, it's just so astronomically ridiculous that this has to be from me. Like, this has to be my expression. This has to be what I have manifested. Because again, if we look at the odds that we would have dozens and hundreds of things that are coincidence, not possible. Not possible. But ultimately, what we do to build our faith is we continue to build on it. Continue, because the more that you document, the more that you get proof of this, it each time it is going to become more and more difficult to chalk it up to random coincidence, that things happen by random. At a certain point, even the reason and logic begins to sound very irrational. Yes. Nelly, happy 2025, Missy. How to no longer get affected by people insulting you. Yes, everyone has you pushed out, but it can still get irritating and hurtful. So how can you no longer be affected by mean words? Thanks. Oh, yeah, this one's tough. This one's tough. I no, nobody wants to hear mean things about him, or that's the ego bruise right there. And yeah, even with the conscious understanding of everyone as you pushed out, even if we know that, like, on an intellectual level, it can still be really hurtful. Yeah. Um, that will naturally begin to subside more and more as your faith grows. Like, as you experience more and more and come more into the faith and trust, those kinds of things are going to naturally subside, because you're going to, like, from experience and from that knowing that this is just a state that I accidentally may have walked into unintentionally, but I can always change that, because everyone is myself pushed out. And so it really does come down again to trust in yourself as the operant power. Yeah. Happy Sunday on a Sunday afternoon. I hope you're doing well. Thank you, Mohammed. I am doing great. I hope you are as well. Marie, hi, hello. Missy, do you think there are certain desires we should drop if the resistance seems too big to overcome? Oh, I mean, I don't, I'm not going to ever recommend, like, dropping your desire and moving on to something else, because a lot of the time that's easier said than done. When we have a desire for something, it's going to feel really challenging to just dismiss it and walk away. We might try to do that, but we're still going to have that desire. You know, that's why it used to piss me off to no end when people would be like, "Oh, just move on. Just move on already." It's like, "Yeah, okay, thanks. I'm cured." You know? Um, so I don't want to say like, I don't want to tell you like give up if resistance feels too big or overwhelming, because it's not always going to. That resistance is not always going to feel huge. It won't. Um, what you can do if it seems like there's too much pushback right now, if it feels overwhelming right now, is shifting your focus to perhaps something more general, going more general. I'm not sure the context of this desire here, but um, you know, turning your attention to how you want to feel, right? And again, really focusing on feeling into that version of you, what it would be like if you did have it. But again, maybe taking the scene or specifics out of it, if you're noticing a lot of pushback. That's one way that we can approach it. Because again, as I'm going to repeat for eternity, it is all about the change in self, anyways. Um, but no, this doesn't mean that we have to give up. A lot of times it's going to feel very difficult to do that because when you have a desire, you have that desire because it is meant to be an experience. It is meant to be an experience that you have in this human form. So yeah, I think for the vast majority of people, like if we could just walk away from our desires, we probably would a lot of times if it didn't seem like it was working out. So yeah, maybe shift the focus right now to something a bit more general. Lula, this is a really good question. Hello, my conscious manifestations are really hit and miss. Why? I got accidental manifestations, even big ones, and now that I'm consciously trying to get it, even small ones, they haven't worked. Why is that? Mm, yeah, this is fairly common. Because one the double-edged sword of knowing about these teachings, being conscious of it, is that then your ego gets involved. And then we're like constantly focusing our attention on trying to get it, trying to solve the problem, which is really just the focus on the lack of it. More often, if we're taking the approach of trying to brainstorm and how to get it and constantly in that fix it mode, we're spending most of our time in a state that says, I don't have it. Um, versus when it's accidental, it's because we haven't been overthinking it. Which the whole point of the techniques is to help you get to a place where you're no longer overthinking it, because that's when it happens. It comes to pass when we're no longer fixed on how do I get it? I don't have it. How do I get it? Where is it? Why don't I have it? Yeah. Yeah. Which is why when in doubt, we just direct ourselves back to the end, to that feeling state. When in doubt, first principle, go to the end. Yeah. Sarah, happy 2025. Any tips to induce lucid dreaming? Good question. Um, for myself, I really I set the intention um, before bed. I know that there are some techniques for lucid dreaming, like wilds, wake-induced lucid dreaming. You can always, I think they have a whole subreddit or stuff, something like that. But I would look up something like wilds. That's really the first technique that popped up. I know that there's others, but off the top of my head, I don't remember. It's lost on me at the moment. But myself personally, I set the intention before bed. Hmm. Hey, Frank. Welcome. Missy, is it too late to send a success story? Not at all. Never too late. Never too late. Send that story. Oh, I do have a success story video coming out here shortly. There has been a lot of amazing success stories lately. Ah, I am loving this. Here's to 2025. Let me see. Where was I? John, I'm trying to understand your question. It's it so you might need to correct me if I'm wrong. When interacting with an SP and transitioning in self-concept, which seems to flicker between the two states, how can I tell that her actions are from the reality that I've chosen and not the dying one? Thanks. If I'm understanding the question correctly, like how can you tell that her actions are stemming from that new state and not the old one? Well, I mean, is she showing up in a way that lines up with that new reality? Is she showing up in a way that seems more ideal? But probably most important is how are you reacting? How are you responding to her actions? That's going to tell us way more. Because maybe before there were moments where things were great, you got along very well. Uh, so you may not know for certain if that's stemming from the new state, the desired state, because maybe that moments like that happened in the old one. Um, so you'll know based on your reactions. You'll know based on how you feel, if you notice any triggers coming up for you, things like that. Yeah. But correct me if I misunderstood. What do you think about self hypnosis and using it to manifest? I'm a fan. I'm a fan. Yeah, somebody brought up hypnosis earlier. You may not have been here, Winter, but absolutely, absolutely give it a shot. There's a lot of there's a lot of apps these days, meditation apps, hypnosis apps, um, even YouTube. There's definitely places that you can go to learn self hypnosis, and yeah, definitely play around with it. What do you think the difference is between lucid dreaming and SATs? Good question. Lucid dreaming is more you know that you're dreaming, but it's not going to feel like you have very much control. Whereas Sats is more like you're gonna feel like it's more. How do I put this in words? Like it's gonna feel more like you're able to shape and mold it. Like you do have more control over the direction of your attention. You're a better narrator. Like you're the director in Sats. Whereas lucid dreaming is gonna feel like I'm having this dream, but I'm kind of just rolling with it, right? Like I'm kind of just here for the ride. I hope that makes sense. They are very similar. What does our SP feel during manifesting? If I connect with them in 4D through unconditional love, are they feeling that at the same time? I'm so curious what they're thinking and feeling. Of course. Yeah, no. I think everybody gets curious about that. And I made a video talking about what SP is thinking and feeling while we are manifesting them. And the short answer is they're thinking and feeling whatever we may be assuming. Um, so we want to come back to remembering that creation is finished. What means there are infinite states, infinite versions, infinite realities with different versions of your SP. I know it's very difficult to wrap our critical thinking mind around that. Um, so it's really like whatever we are feeling into, whatever we are assuming is what because you're selecting that reality, you're selecting that version of them. So if you in 4D are connected through unconditional love, then absolutely they're going to feel that because you are connecting to the state where they are already like that. That's the version of them that already exists. Which is why we do want to be very mindful of what are we assuming about this person. Yeah. Definitely check out the video I made talking in more detail about that. Hi, Misty Love from Texas. Welcome. I miss Texas. Texas was fun. Going back up. Where was my spot? When we are manifesting an SP, many affirmations are based on being loved and a priority, while simultaneously being advised against putting SP on a pedestal. Is this not contradictory? Thank you. Absolutely. Many affirmations are based on being loved and a priority. Well, I'm a little bit confused, Marie, because if you're focused on the version of you that is loved and prioritized, that's by default putting yourself on a pedestal. So I might be misunderstanding, but if we are focused on tapping into that version of us that feels loved, adored, secure, prioritized, then we're putting ourselves first, which is how it should be. Which is why if we're going to use affirmations, I'm much more a fan of, I am loved, I am adored, the I am statements versus this person loves me, this person thinks about like that's more, maybe a bit too centered on the person. Not that there's anything inherently wrong with that, but um, when we focus our attention on the state of being the prize, I'd say that's putting us on the pedestal. Yeah. Thank you, Yara. You are it's so good to have you here. Thank you for being so lovely to everyone in the chat. All of you are lovely. Oh man. This is a great community here. Sigh. Advice for manifesting a boyfriend when I don't even have a crush right now. I'm trying to create an SP and have him show up in my reality. Oh, thank you, Melanie. Advice for manifesting a boyfriend when so correct me if I'm wrong. Instead of a specific person that um, you're aiming to manifest a new relationship, right? A new partner, somebody that maybe you don't know or haven't met yet. In that case, I would first naturally get very clear on the characteristics, the attributes, like how you want that person to show up. Like, get clear on that ideal partner, from personality to, what are they passionate about, what are their beliefs, physical attributes, whatever that is. Get very, very clear on that. So that way we're not kind of just, grasping at straws or not really knowing what we're doing. Because when you get clear on what that kind of a person is, maybe we don't have a clear image in our head of what they look like, but we know the ideal. It's going to feel easier to go to that end. Yeah. I've been trying to do SATs for a month now. I've also taken up meditating to learn to relax. Now I either start looping too early and can't fall asleep or get too relaxed and pass out. Any tips? Mm, I know. This is Those two things are the most common struggles that people have with SATs. So you're not alone in this. You're not alone in this. Either we jump into the scene too soon and we can't fall asleep because then we're using all this effort into our scene, right? It's like we're getting ourselves more worked up, or we pass out too soon. That is normal. It really is going to come to practicing over and over and over and over again. This is a new skill, just like learning any new skill. Um, just a couple things that can help is maybe try to play around with different times of the day. So if you have been mainly focused on before bed, try to do it in the afternoon in meditation. Um, so that way you can set a timer in case you do fall asleep. You're not out for the whole afternoon, and when you wake up, you'll be in the groggy state already. Try experimenting with sitting up, different positions. Um, but yeah, it is going to be a practice until at some point it's just going to naturally fall for you. Like, you're just going to fall into it. The first time I successfully did SATs was a complete accident. So yeah, this really is where like the consistency comes in. Yeah. Question about signs. A few question about signs. Missy, if signs precede, they don't follow. A tarot reading popped up with 222, and it was about 22 on the clock, the exact time it popped up. And the content matched my affirmations. Does it count as a sign? Um, well, signs are manifestations in and of themselves. Um, I mean, that showed up because you manifested it, right? Maybe you're familiar with seeing angel numbers, right? Maybe you see them all the time. So it would be natural to assume that those would keep popping up for you because you're constantly observing them, right? But signs in and of themselves are basically just they're manifestations. They don't have any inherent meaning outside of the meaning that we might give to it. I guess it doesn't inherently mean that something is going to happen unless we continue to go to the end, which is why we ideally don't want to get too caught up in signs, because then we're just going to be manifesting a bunch of signs instead of what we actually want. Yeah. How do I manifest a new SP when I'm still in love with my ex but don't want to be with him? Oh, I'm so sorry, sunshine. Um, if you feel like it's difficult to put your attention on your new SP because of how you feel towards your ex, I mean, I would, if you have not yet, if you have not yet revised, perhaps even a conversation that implies that you've gotten over your ex. So perhaps a conversation where you're talking to a friend about how, you know, I'm over it. I'm in a whole new relationship and it's amazing. I was finally able to get over my ex. Something along those lines is kind of the first thing that came to my mind. Because I know it could feel difficult if we're trying to go to the end with somebody, but maybe there's still feelings for somebody else. So I would play around with imagining something along those lines that imply that you are no longer attached to your ex, or that the feelings are not there anymore and you are free now to move into a state with someone else. Yeah. What is a great scene to visualize with money? For money. Good question. I mean, I think different people are going to resonate with different things when it comes to abundance, when it comes to being financially wealthy. For example, one thing that I would try to do often years ago, years and years ago, when I very much wanted to be in a better financial position, was I try to imagine like seeing the numbers in the bank account, which is a very common scene, like a go-to scene for manifesting wealth. Myself personally, I really couldn't, like, it didn't really do anything for me. That doesn't mean that it won't for you. That is something that you could try doing. Um, Instead, I focused more on just the aspects of wealth, like how I wanted to feel, like, because it wasn't the money that I desired. I desired the feeling of freedom. I desired to feel secure. I desired to feel like I'm not trapped, right? Like that was what I really wanted. So I when I started to focus more on that feeling, imagining the things that I would be doing once I was free, like if I'm not stressed out about bills anymore, and I have so much more opportunity for things. That came a lot easier for me. So playing around with what your life would look like now if you already had all the money in the world. How would you be doing things differently? How would you be showing up differently? And just, you know, feel your consciousness with that. I hope that's making sense. Yeah. You can also play around with, seeing the bank statement or checking your balance. Like that may resonate with you, but ultimately we want to feel abundant. We want to feel the freedom of not having to worry about that anymore. Missy has a reel about sets. Yep, yep, yep. Yeah, one of my shorts that I did about sats. Yeah, that was a true story. That was representation of real events based on a true story. I struggled with sats. Y'all are definitely not alone. Absolutely, you can revise for others. Mhm, mhm, 100%. So, I love the interactions that you guys are having. You guys are so good to each other. How do I develop my relationship with SP? I feel that our relationship is getting worse. Oh, can I change it only with self concept? I want strong advice to work on. Oh, I'm so sorry, Dina. Um, but no matter what we desire to manifest, no matter what that looks like, no matter what that is, the objective is always the same. It's the change in how we feel. Because if we are fearful that this person is pulling away, that they're acting distant, or maybe there's more fighting, if that is what we are conscious of, if that is what we are continuing to be aware of, that's what's leaving the impressions, which then become expressed, and then we get in a feedback loop. Which is why, like, I know it's difficult because we are so ingrained to put all of our attention on the 3D and follow the 3D and give all of our focus out there, but we must recondition that. This whole practice is learning how to go from that to turning within and imagining how you want to feel. It's all about how you want to be experiencing this relationship. First in here. First doing it in here. Yes. There is nothing or no one to change but self. That is true. Could you please give me a blueprint for how to come up with easy things to test every day? I think I might be overcomplicating it. Thank you. Oh, you're not alone in that. I was the queen of overcomplicating everything, overthinking everything. Yeah. When it comes to testing the law with these so-called small things, uh, I would, you know, bust out a notebook, a piece of paper, and just set a timer for 1 minute and just let yourself free flow. Like write down the first things that come to you, like without overthinking it. Just allow it to come. You know, pink turtle. I want to see somebody with a wig or a bad toupee. I want to see somebody who, crosses the street to say hello to me. I want to see a shooting star. Like let yourself just go with it. Because yeah, we tend to keep ourselves stuck because we're over we're trying too hard. Let it flow. Yeah. See if that might help. After doing self-concept work, did you ever feel like, "Do I even want this?" Mhm. Yeah, I've had definitely had moments where I questioned if I still wanted my manifestation, if I still wanted my desire. That's actually very common. And that's not to say that you're gonna no longer desire what you want, but you're gonna notice a change in how you feel. Because what you're doing is you're moving from the state of desiring, from wanting and longing and hoping and wishing, to a state of content, to a state where you feel more calm because it feels done. And when you have something that you know to be true, when something feels certain or done for you, you're not going to overthink it, which is probably going to feel very different if you're used to overthinking it or constantly putting your all your attention on this desire. You might be like, "Do I even am I even still wanting this?" A way to tell if you still want your desire is asking yourself, if this person or this thing showed up today, like right now, would I still take them back or would I still want this? And the answer is usually always yes. But we're just no longer in that state of desiring, which is the entire point. We don't want to be stuck in the state of desiring something because that implies that we don't have it, right? Yeah, this is normal. Oh, symptoms, I'm sorry. Is the chat acting weird? Hmm. Is it weird? Oh, this is a good question. Is it weird that I don't feel overjoyed when my manifestation hits the 3D? I always get what I desire and my faith is so strong. I am grateful, but don't always show happiness. This is normal. This is normal. Um, it goes against what we might expect. When we're in a state of desiring, it might feel like we should be overjoyed and over the moon to get what we want. Because from that desiring state, the thought of it is overjoying. But if we're in the state of we've already experienced this, we already have it. It's a done deal for us. Like once in the Sabbath, it's just going to feel like, yeah, of course that was going to happen. Duh, totally normal. Yeah, like when my husband came back, as soon as that text message hit my phone, I didn't even have to look to know it was him, and it was like, yeah, of course, there he is. Hmm. I am sorry if the chat's acting weird today, you guys. I have no idea why it's doing that. Ugh. Um, yeah, sometimes, yeah. Maybe try refreshing. Mhm. Let them go until they conform. I don't necessarily disagree with that. Oh, where's part two of that question? Damn it, the chat is jumpy as hell. Sorry, guys. Hang on one second. Oh, that was a good question, too. Where'd you go? Shoot. Mm, where was I? I do try to keep in order. Can't always guarantee that it stays in order, but I do try. Do you listen to Subliminals? Uh, myself personally, no, no. But that's not to say. I mean, if it's something that you want to try and experiment with, no harm in that. Sunny, this is great. One thing that helped me a lot is when you said old thoughts resurface because of our ego. I can separate these thoughts from myself now and recognize that they're just the old self not wanting to change. Yes, yes, good, good. It does. Like when we start to separate ourselves from our thoughts and see that we're not our thoughts, this is literally just an old narrative. This is the old self, the old man throwing a fit because resistance to change. Like once you see that, it significantly less power from those thoughts. It doesn't have that kind of grip and effect like it used to. I'm glad that you were noticing that too. Is meditation and visualization enough? I affirm sometimes, but not always, and I stick to my meditation only, multiple times a day. I mean, it certainly can be enough. Mhm. It's always tricky to answer these questions of like, is this enough? Because it's not about like how much you do a technique in the day. I mean, you can successfully leave an impression after a split second of the right feeling. Like you can imagine something once and that's enough as far as leaving that impression is concerned. Yeah. When I see him in so many when I see him, especially during confirmation ways, isn't that showing me that's what our future together looks like? Hope that makes sense. For example, a romantic scene with a couple. I'm a little bit confused by the question, but if I'm understanding correctly, um, if you're seeing a change in how they're showing up, is that confirmation with what your future together looks like? Well, your future is determined by what you are feeling and thinking right now. What you are feeling and thinking and assuming right now determines what you will be experiencing in this 3D in the so-called future. Because it appears like there's linear time out here. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Diana. Thank you. You were sweet. You were very, very sweet. All right, got a few more minutes, and then we're gonna do a house tour. Hello, Missy. When SB brings up a lot of resistance, is it better to shift to going general? It can be. It can be. Yeah, absolutely. Somebody brought up a similar question earlier. If you are having a significant amount of resistance to a specific person, maybe history, past history, stuff like that, try going a bit more general and just focus on the feeling of a loving, committed relationship. Focus on how you want to feel, how you want to be treated, how you want interactions to be. And it does not even have to be specified because you already know what you desire. God already knows what your specific desire is. So we don't even have to so much worry about that part of it. Yeah. Going more general can sometimes be a huge help in overcoming that resistance. Can reading old, loving, happy, flirty chats helpful while manifesting an ex? I sometimes do it and feel amazing, no sadness or longing. Also play songs, happy flirty ones, that he dedicated to me. That is cute. And yes, yeah. You can absolutely go you can refer to old conversations, memories, chats, music, anything like that, especially if it is conjuring the feeling of happiness, if it's bringing you back to that warm, fuzzy state, 100% go there. Yeah. And I know it's not for everybody. Sometimes it can make us feel more like bittersweet or sad, which in that case, I would not so much recommend it. But if you're feeling good, keep going. House tour? Yes. We got two Renees in here. Hey, Missy, I've noticed that I've felt a shift since I started using revision. Mhm. Where I'm getting movement, but before I didn't like revision or enjoy it. What could that be about? I mean, before you didn't like revision? I mean, it could just be that I'm not sure. Maybe you changed your approach with it. Maybe you've started to apply it differently. I'm not sure why it's different now, but probably because you stuck with it. You know, I know there can be a lot of aversion to the idea of revision at first. The idea can be like, I don't know about that. That's totally normal. But I'm not at all surprised that you're seeing movement now, which is only going to be more motivating, more inspiring. It's going to make you feel more excited to revise. It's going to make you want to do it. Yeah. Hi, Missy. I am doing SATs visualizing now for a couple of weeks, but either I fall asleep too fast or my monkey mind is trying to distract me a lot. Random everyday thoughts. Help, please. I know it's super frustrating, but this is normal. I'm just going to keep reassuring you guys this is normal. You're going to notice the monkey mind going 1,000 miles an hour as it does right before bed or whenever we're not busy. That's when our mind tends to go into stupid overdrive. That's normal. Totally normal. Um, it is a practice. It is a practice. I know Neville makes it sound so easy, but we got to remember that dude was studying and practicing for 7 years with Abdullah before he started to lecture. Not to say that it's going to take you 7 years. I want to be clear. I want to be clear on that. It's not what I'm saying, but it is a practice. Some people may get the hang of it better than others, as with anything. But if you stay consistent, because a couple of weeks, I mean, it may sound like a very long time, but depending on a variety of factors, this is still very much a new thing for you. This is still introducing something that is very new. So do not get discouraged. Easier said than done, I know. But with practice, you can get there. Everyone is able to do SATs because everybody goes through that state naturally twice a day. You got this. Ugh. The time has flown. On that note, unfortunately, I got to get going. But fear not, you guys, I am going to be back here in just a few minutes for the house tour. Come check out my beautiful place. I hope you stick around, but either way, I want to thank you all so much for being here. Much, much, much love. Happy New Year. Brand new start. It's time, you guys. This is going to be the best year ever. Much love to each of you. I will see you next week. Bye, guys.